Holy cow, what a great event to start off 2022. Hey everyone, my name is Jamie. If we're new to each other, welcome. Today I'd like to talk about the Mac Studio and see if it's the right choice, right option for you. And don't worry, this guy here is not it. But first off, I do want to say that I try my very best to avoid any and all spoilers leading up to the very end, but they're really unavoidable, and I understand that people make a lot of money making that kind of content, so it is what it is. But first off, a really quick recap of what was introduced prior to the Mac Studio. Now, the event started off with Tim Cook talking about all the successes of Apple TV Plus, along with the introduction of Friday Night Baseball, some upgrades to the iPad Air, including that M1 chip, some internal spec upgrades to the iPhone SE, and some new color choices arriving to the iPhone 13 and iPhone 13 Pro, green and Alpine Green respectively. But although there were a lot of talks and rumors about a new and improved Mac Mini and a possibly less expensive Apple Cinema display, I don't think anyone saw that M1 Ultra chip coming, especially so soon after the M1 Pro and M1 Max chips. Now, there were a lot of talks and rumors about spec upgrades coming to the Mac Mini, and I just thought that was going to get an M1 Pro chip, M1 Max chip. I did not think it would get an M1 Ultra chip. I was literally gagged. And the moment you go down to this basement to speak to Johnny, you know you're going to see all these charts, all these graphs talking about all this power and all this performance. How much more power do we honestly need? All I kept thinking about is where are they going to put this chip? Which hardware, which device will this M1 Ultra chip live in? Now, just to put it into simple terms, because that's how I need it, the M1 Ultra are two M1 Max chips fused together with a special technology that Apple calls Ultra Fusion. And then, here it came, the Mac Studio. Now, of course, Apple's new desktop computer could not keep that mini name because this guy is beefy. It looks like a Mac Mini that came out of quarantine and it gained a couple of pounds. It's 3.7 inches in length and 7.7 inches in height. So, of course, with the addition of that weight, as well as all of those varieties of extra ports, it could not keep its Mac Mini name, and it's now a new product all of its own. So, speaking of ports, you do have 4 USB-C ports on the back that do convert to Thunderbolt, HDMI and headphone jack ports, and 2 USB-A ports. Yes, 2 USB-A ports. And you get more ports on the front, which I just think is wild. Again, you get 2 USB-C or Thunderbolt, depending on your chipset, and dramatic, an SD card slot. They're putting those SD card slots on everything. Now, the majority of that extra added space and mass in the Mac Studio is dedicated to cooling. And here in my MacBook Pro, I do have the M1 Max chip, and I can confirm it does get pretty warm, especially compared to the M1 chip that is found in my Mac Mini. But also can confirm that I still have yet to hear those fans, and when it was in my Intel MacBook, it was very loud. So let's talk about the M1 Max. And I'm just gonna keep it on the M1 Max because I've not experienced the M1 Ultra, and I don't like talking about things that I don't have firsthand experience in, but I do have firsthand experience with the M1 Max. What is the better value? The M1 Max housed in a MacBook Pro or the M1 Max housed in the Mac Studio? These prices you're seeing on screen are only referring to the base possible options of the M1 Max in its respective enclosure. The only difference between the Mac Studio's starting storage is only 512 gigabytes, which is a bit silly due to its capability, but it can also make sense as it is intended just to be on a desktop and not mobile. But considering the power, I've also included the pricing of the 1 terabyte option to make them all equal. But are they actually equal? Of course, the Mac Studio is going to require you to bring your own peripherals. That means your own keyboard, your own mouse, trackpad if you do like those, and your own monitor. But hear me out. Chances are you already have those, and that's cool. But the MacBook Pro is capable of all the same power, just has less I/O ports. That is 3 less USB-C ports and no USB-A ports. But it gives you the power and portability options to take your machine wherever you want on the go. Personally, considering the pricing, I would still opt for the MacBook Pro. You have the option to be portable, as well as having the option to dock your machine to a monitor to have that desktop experience. Unless, of course, you really do need that M1 Ultra performance, you'll know who you are. Finally, there is a chip, there is a machine for you. And lastly, with the introduction of the Mac Studio and that studio display that we've barely touched upon, it has led to the discontinuation of the 27-inch iMac. Now, if you do have one of those old guys laying around and you'd like to use it as a second monitor, I have a video linked down below on how you could do just that. So no, I don't plan on getting the Mac Studio, but never say never. But I do plan on attaching this Mac Mini here to that new studio display. So if you'd like to see how that goes, be sure to be subscribed if you haven't already. Drop a comment down below on what excited you the most of this Apple event. If anything, we still have WWDC around the corner. And if you've made it all the way to the very end, at least drop a like on the video because it really helps out. And that's about it. Until next time, guys, I'll see ya.